Hello and welcome to this Project in a Box video session. I'm Malcolm West, and in this session we're going to be talking about PPM maturity and how we can improve maturity within our organisation. We're going to split this into two sections. The first section, introduction to the theory of PPM maturity, what the P3M3 framework is and how it works, and some broad ideas on how we can improve that maturity. And then in the second section we're going to go on and have a look at 3 quick wins to get you to level 3 in the framework, and how you can then go on and implement those. So what is P3M3? Well, it consists of 7 perspectives. These are the sort of fundamental areas within the model that you will be assessed against: organizational governance, management control, and then the more technical areas of benefit management, risk management, stakeholder management, finance management, resource management. So those are the 7 perspectives. Each of these can be run through one of 3 different models or sub-models. You have the portfolio management maturity model, program management maturity model, and project management maturity model, and that's how we get P3M3, because we've got the 3 P's and the M's associated with them. So you can, depending on the sort of assessment that you do, just be assessed at the project management maturity level against the 7 perspectives, or perhaps just at the program level against the 7 perspectives, although it's likely you would do project or project and program, or project, program and portfolio. So depending on the assessment that you do, because of the sort of aspects that you tend to use within your organisation, you may choose to do 1, 2 or all 3 of those, and in combination they produce the P3M3 framework. Now, as you're assessed against 5 different levels within those perspectives and those models. So that's all clear, isn't it? So let's go and have a look at what we mean by the 5 levels. So here we've got our 7 perspectives again across the bottom. Here are our 5 levels as they're often shown against the perspectives. And what happens is you do an assessment. You've got a choice of whether you do essentially a self-assessment or whether you get an assessor in various different modes to do the assessment for you as an external, more independent body. So we're going to talk about that in general, what the assessment is. You have a set of areas within a perspective which are technical themes and topics which you will be looked at, or you will look at yourself and identify whether you think you do those and what sort of performance you have against those. And with that you'll get a score, and you will score yourself perhaps against the portfolio maturity of these various levels. So you'll say, reading through the notes, it looks like we exhibit a 3 in organisational governance, and we exhibit a 2 in management control and benefits management, and we can go through like that and identify broadly what our exhibited performance is against these various topics. Then we can do the same again for program maturity and mark that up again, and then obviously the same again for project maturity and mark that up again. And so we'll end up with these scores. This is obviously a really good way of seeing that and how that might change. This is a fairly typical sort of thing where some things you have a fairly similar level of maturity across the 3 different models. In others you progress through them gradually, and in sometimes it may go the other way actually, but it's less likely to do that. It tends to be that organisations mature from a project level first and then up through the organisational structure. So we then average out those, so we get an average score for each of our various perspectives across the various models, and then we average all of the scores together to get a total level, and that's a good way of identifying how mature we are against other organisations. This organisation is a 3, and others might be a 2.7 or a 3.4 or a 4.8 or a 1.0. So we get that ability to benchmark ourselves. Of course, if we want to go for a more refined benchmarking, we'd be looking at the individual scores in each of these areas. You commonly see various different graphs used to help people understand and explore that and compare themselves to other organisations. A classic area for benchmarking and looking at how different people do things slightly better. Okay, so that's our assessment, and it really helps us understand where we're good and where we perhaps are not so good. In fact, where we need to be better and where we don't necessarily need to be better. We might identify particular problems in the organisation that's mapped out with those results, and we want to make an aspect of what we do, a perspective of what we do, a little bit better than it currently is. So different ways we like to think about this in terms of improving your maturity. We identify 3 different sort of themes, if you like: cultural improvements, skills improvements, and tools improvements. Overlap between those, of course, and here's some of the sorts of things that you might do to improve your maturity. So having a PMO is a thing that immediately steps you up in the maturity model. It very much helps in terms of structuring and organising and managing these aspects and coordinating them and getting the consistency in place and all those sort of things. There is, of course, ownership and sponsors, knowing what to do with projects and how to own them, and ownership of these various ideas at an organisational level or departmental level, etc., programs, portfolios and the like. Competence frameworks for skills, methodology adoption, and that's not just saying we do the method, but all the paraphernalia that goes with that: structuring, auditing, evolving it, etc. Mentoring and best practice schemes, stakeholder engagement, understanding what the stakeholders want. Are they getting what they want? Are they engaged with appropriately as you go through the processes? Proper review processes, reviewing projects at post-project, at gates, identifying whether it's the right project to be running in the first place with a sort of sensible selection process, ideas to project sort of funnel, systems for enabling you to have a clear understanding of the data and getting that in some sort of real time so you can make decisions at the appropriate time, and perhaps identify failings before they're going to happen. Loads of different things you can do depending on different aspects of your project that you have. One thing I particularly want to pick out here is the speed at which you can make some of these changes, and to some extent the solid base that you might need to build some of these changes upon. So cultural changes can often, and you really need to get to high scores, you really do need to have a strong cultural element to your delivery, because a lot of this is about norming and improving and understanding and comparing aspects across the organisation, etc. And some of those things, those ownership things, can take a long time to get in place. You can't just say, well, here's some stuff, we'll just go and do some training and then it'll happen straight away. You know, people have to norm into those sort of things, so it can take a while to establish the cultural stuff. Skills, same sort of thing. It can take a while to get everyone through training courses and up to the standard skills, and that's if you decide what methodologies you're going to use, etc. Tools are a good area where you can make some real step improvements, and actually a lot of the stuff down at the bottom levels of the maturity is about getting consistent collection of those perspectives: your benefits management, your risk management, your issue and change management, your resource and finance management, and a lot of that can be accomplished by putting some tools in place, getting consistent processes and document management, communications, reporting, those sort of things that really leap you up to a good mid-level point, are often associated with tools, supported by skills, but aren't so much the cultural aspects. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about in that first session. I hope you found that useful to just explore a little bit around P3M3, how it's structured and made, what are some of the issues around all that. In the next session we're going to go on and look at how you can make the quick wins in a bit more detail, and how Project in a Box can help you do that. Thank you very much.